My name is Inonge Siluka, and I'm the founder of Restored Hope Zambia. Today, I'm joined by one of our advisory board members, Pastor Joe Simfukwe. Pastor Simfukwe, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. The first is one of the things that people ask about the work of Restored Hope Zambia. Why focus on the church? Abuse happens, of course, in other settings, and of course, Restored Hope Zambia deals with abuse in the church. Why the focus on the church? How would you answer that?
Well, Restored Hope Zambia is a Christian organization, and the Christian organization first responsibility is to its own community. Mm-hmm. The responsibility that we have to the world is to evangelize. Yeah. But if there are problems happening in our churches, those problems in the world are happening in our churches, then it's up to us to do the cleanup. We can't wait for the world to come and do things for us. We should be setting the highest bar. Mm-hmm. So if there are problems like that in our churches, we shouldn't be hiding them, but we should be seeking to deal with them. Because we're a Christian organization, we focus on the church. That's only natural. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think that's one helpful way of dealing with it, because if we were a secular organization, then of course it might be tricky to then start dealing with issues in the church. But actually, we're Christians, we love Jesus, and we want to pursue justice. And this is an aspect that we have realized there's not a lot of talk happening. There's not a lot of organizations dealing or choosing to deal with this issue. So we're stepping in a gap in the same way that other organizations, for example, cancer charities that focus on cancer instead of other health conditions, noticing a gap and saying, well, actually, Jesus calls us to love people, to care for the vulnerable, to pursue justice. Who else is doing it? No one? Okay, we'll fill in the gap. So that's a helpful point just about our Christian focus and the fact that we're stepping into that gap in consistency with our Christian foundations and our Christian beliefs. And just a follow-up question from that one. This is maybe more of an objection where somebody might then say, okay, but by focusing on the church, you are almost airing the dirty laundry of the church. You are ruining the reputation of the church. How would you answer such an objection?
And this idea of being afraid to air the dirty laundry in the public is not a Christian concept. And one of the things that I notice about our God is that he doesn't hide the failings of some of his greatest heroes. Yeah. So I think of somebody like David, King David. Not only is he exposed when he's actually been trying to hide something that he's done, but a record is even kept. And we read about him in the New Testament. I think of the Apostle Peter. Jesus already knows what he's going to do. He's going to mess up. And when it actually does mess up, that is recorded and we read about it. And so the idea of saying that we are going to destroy the church by airing our dirty laundry, as it were, it's a total contradiction from what Jesus says. He says he's the light of the world. Mm-hmm. He says you're the light, and he doesn't want anything that is hidden. And even even just ordinary relationships as Christians, we're called to walk in the light. Because if we walk in the darkness, then there's no reality there. The Apostle John says we're just deceiving ourselves. The truth is not in us. But if we're going to follow this one who says, I'm the way, I'm the truth, I'm the light, then we have no choice but to walk in the light. So we're not some kind of secret society where we keep everything under wraps.
Pretend everything is perfect.
We can't. We have to be truthful. Jesus says, when he talks about God loved the world so much that he gave his one and only son, one of the things that he says there is that those who love the truth will come out in the light. It's those who want to stick with their evil deeds are the ones who walk in the darkness. Yeah. But we don't want to stick with it. To be a Christian is to live that behind and to come out in the light and to be children of the light. And if there is dirty laundry in our midst, then we need to sort that out. We need to be honest about that.
Yeah, that's a helpful point, especially that aspect about being Christians and shining the light onto the darkness, because only then, if we know about them and we shine the light on them, can they be dealt with. If we don't, then they don't get dealt with. And that's one of the things we find as Restored Hope Zambia is abuse happens in these churches, but there's silence around it. That's why people probably think it's not an issue, because they're like, well, it doesn't happen in my church. So well, actually, you just don't know, because it's all hidden, and we want to shine the light as people of the light. And also just another aspect, I don't know what you think of this. I was thinking of this idea of destroying the church. It's Jesus' church.
The church, I mean, he says, I am building the church.
Yeah.
The gates of hell cannot destroy it. Now, when the deeds of darkness, those are the ones which are going to destroy the church, not by exposing the deeds of darkness. And that's what the apostle, Paul tells us in Ephesians 5. He says there's things that need to be exposed if they're going to be dealt with, rather than hidden. And one of the things that Jesus was always confronting with the religious leaders of his day, he describes them as your whitewashed sepulchres. So you look nice on the outside, but there's rottenness there. They didn't like it, but the thing that Jesus wants to build is not something like that. He wants to build something that will shine a light, that will transform society, that will transform lives. And yes, we fail, but when we fail, the Apostle John says, bring it out, and then the blood of Jesus will deal with it. But if we pretend that nothing's happening, we're not helping ourselves, we're not building the church, we're not helping to build our communities, we're actually destroying the church precisely by contradicting the one who says, I have come, I'm the light of the world.
Yeah.
No one who comes after me stumbles around in darkness.
Thank you very much, Pastor Simfukwe. Some helpful thoughts there. We do have more resources, of course, on our website where we talk about our foundations, our values, why we exist, and some resources that you can find just about the different issues around abuse in the church. So please do check that out. Our website is www.restoredhopezambia.org.